Good morning, Denise Dryden here with my weekly Sunday morning video. Today I want to talk about the art of lily hopping, because there's a few of us, maybe yourself, maybe someone you know, who changes jobs, who changes relationship, who changes homes, who changes their look constantly. And sometimes, we judge, we worry, we sort of like go, yeah, what are they doing? We feel like they're unstable. We feel like they're we feel like they're flighty. We feel like they're not committed. And so what I wanted to do today was sort of really explore some connections that I've been making about lily hopping, because as you notice, I'm in a different background. So I've lived in this is my third place in the last month looking for solid long-term rental properties in the Flathead Valley, which is, in the midst of its biggest tourist season after the pandemic. So it's kind of like whatever I can get, I got in, right? So I found a good little lily pad, no worries, and I'm pretty excited about it. So there's this conditioned belief that we have to finish what we start, right? You started it, you need to finish. I think that comes from baby boomers. I think it comes from the post-World War II family value system, which is, if this is what you're going to do, then you're going to stick with it until the very end. Whether it's a job and you get your 20-year watch or your 30-year watch, or you get your 40-year, 50-year, 60-year wedding anniversary. There seems to be some sort of value placed on duration. And I'm not saying that there isn't a value there. I'm saying that it came from someplace and that we might need to change the way that we look at that. Because when it comes to sports, or it comes to dance classes, or karate, or it comes to jobs, or it comes to musical instruments, you name it, there are so many different ways that when we try something on, we go, kind of like it. I had to play piano. My mother said I had to do it for 2 years. It was painful. I'm never going to learn how to play the piano. I'm not that musically inclined. I have a different skill set, right? So when we force someone to stay beyond their tolerance, or their ability, what happens is we shut them down. We shut down their energy system. We keep forcing them over and over again, like a round ball into a square peg. And we say the only value in our culture is that if you stay in that peg and you learn how to be a square peg. And there's children's books on this. This is nothing new. But what I want to do is I want to take it from the lens of being a sensitive or an empath or an energetically aware reactive human being. So whether that's you, whether that's your partner, whether that's your child that you're raising, whether that's a colleague, think about this. So the sensitives, those who are energetically reactive, who collaborate with the world, are observant, and they're curious, and they're highly intelligent because they have lots of different intelligences that are working at once. They're bright, they're consistent, and they're also inconsistent, which is, when I'm in, I'm in, and when I'm out, I'm out. They're focused. They can be hyper-focused, and they can be scattered. They can be compassionate. They can be thoughtful. They can be mean. They can be perfectionist. They can be avoidant. So when we look at this list, it's kind of like I'm all in, and I'm thriving, or I'm out, right? And this is part of what happens when we feel. When we react to the feelings around us, when we respond to either constriction or we respond to freedoms. So what we're talking about is scanners. We're talking about quick assessors. We're talking about creative adapters. And so when we have that kind of intelligence, that kind of spirit, it makes sense that we're going to try something on and go, I think I always wanted to do ballet. And then after doing these very strict, this is exactly where the muscles go, either you become hyper-focused and you love it, or you hate it, right? It's just too strict. So when I went to the idea of the lily pad hopper, I was thinking about how frogs, and I've used this analogy with 3 different parents now. when they're really frustrated with the fact that their child tried horseback riding, or their child tried this sport, or their child, their teen thought they wanted to do this in high school and then they didn't. And what I was talking about was going over to the high levels of intelligences, going over to the ability to assess. And, lily pads are where frogs hang out, and they bask in the sun and they like it. And this is a good place. And then, after a while, it's like, based on the shade, based on the location, based on that lily pad looks better. So they just leap over to that one. So what happens is lily pad jumpers is an asset of creativity and intelligence. And, they're all in or they're all out. So there's intelligence, there's assessment, there's resonance, there's perception, there's creativity. And all of this influences the length of time somebody can energetically stay somewhere, right? So, one of the examples was I had a post-program kid whose job it was to get it, or whose responsibility it was to get a job for the first summer home. And so he went to work at a Subway. And, after 2 days, he came home and said, I'm not doing that, I quit. And his parents are kind of going, you can't just quit. And he said, yeah, I can. That place is out of integrity. They're changing the dates on their food. They're dirty. They're hiding it. They're fighting with each other. They're changing their hours on their time clocks. So you just got me out of a program where I'm working on integrity, and this is a place that's out of integrity, right? So it's what happens when you don't like the people, or when it's chaotic, or it's disorganized, or it's out of integrity, like we talked about. It doesn't feel good when I'm there. It might be the chemicals in the air. It might be the smell. It might be the environment. It's boring. It's mundane. Or what they often say is, oh my God, I want more. I want more than that. I want something that actually really works for me. And so that's what we're really talking about, is when someone lily pad jumps, they want more. They want something different. It's not because they're irresponsible. It's because their intelligences gather information so fast. So are you a lily pad jumper, or are you raising one? Does this sound familiar? Does this feel familiar? So I put together 5 tips for you on things to consider, right? So number 1, this is an old tap on the shoulder, remind. If you haven't watched Sensitive, The Untold Story, which is an hour documentary by Elaine Aron, watch it. It gives a lot of different ways that sensitivity and reactivity shows up. You can get it on Gaia or Amazon Prime. And so it shows you what energetic reactivity looks like. So that's the first one. Go watch that movie. If you haven't, watch it. If you've watched it and you don't remember it, watch it again. Number 2, really assess the difference between someone who's intelligent, observant, perceptive, bored, and restless. And look again over at entitled, lazy, doesn't want to put in the work. Only you know the difference with yourself. Am I being lazy? Is it too hard? Am my fears up? Or is there something going on with your kid when you're seeing this entitled? Now, you got to be able to tell the difference between those two. Because if you've got someone who's entitled, then you've got a parent problem, which is every time that they even that your kid even hesitates, you change gears so that they're not exploring their comfortable essence, and you're sort of moving them around or distracting them with goodies. So if that entitlement is there, deal with that first. However, if you make an accurate assessment, you can listen and you can go, yeah, that sounds like that would be a really hard place to work. It sounds like a really hard person to be with. That sounds like a really difficult house to live in. It looks like you do need to change, right? So then you support the hop, right? You support the movement. Number 3, honor the change to a different lily pad. Honor it. Stop. Stopping may not be an option for some, but for those who can, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's stability, aligning with that energetic freedom, that energetic growth is intoxicating, because what you do is you free open, instead of dealing with smells and claustrophobic or negative energy on people and a lack of integrity. You're in a place where they actually like your perceptiveness, they like your intelligence, they encourage you. So this is where true creativity thrives, is my guess. And I've worked so many places where I've tried so hard to fit into the box, but when someone says, tell me what you really see, I just open up and I thrive, right? So number 4, the reason I want to bring this up is that these younger generations of ours, they're really lily pad hoppers, much more than we thought they were. As a matter of fact, a lot of this is sort of sounding like what happens when you have a millennial. And it's about vibration, it's about collaboration, it's about resonance. If it doesn't feel good, they can't do it. And so, we have employees who are like, just put your head and do the job. And they're like, yeah, well, you're out of integrity, so I don't think I want to work with you or for you. And so millennials are getting a bad rap, and the generation coming below them, the Gen Zs, are even more resonance based. So, what we're looking at is that these younger generations, they know how to hold presence. They know how to do observation. They need you to help navigate, and they need you to acknowledge, yeah, it does. I would imagine that there are those chemicals in this building, or that attitude in that person, or that teacher in that class is hard. So what we do is they see the world different, so we go there and we meet them in that world that they see. So my tip number 4 is go young. Don't go back into the old traditional roles. Go forward into what are they seeing? What are they feeling? Why are they reacting? And number 5, get to know the concepts and implementations of surfing. I got this in a download about a month ago, and I think it's a really important concept to embrace, which is, surfers. I don't know if you've ever spent any time on the ocean, but you've got to get to know how to assess the water, how to choose a wave, how to catch it, how to ride it and play with it, and then how to get out and then go repeat it. Is that enough? Do I want more? So surfing is sort of catching something, watching it all, and then getting up on top of it and riding it the way that you can, right? So this concept of surfing is more like life. When I get a job here and everybody lines up, I have a tremendous run. That run may last a year, it may last 10 years. I may adapt and change with it. I had a blast. So think about that surfing concept with our 10 and unders as they're going through school. What's it like to have someone who doesn't even want to assess the room or deal with creative sort of choosing or assessing what's the next place to go. So remember, with that frog doing the lily pad hopping, they're going to hop. And they're gonna need to hop, and we're gonna have to figure out how to do that with them. We're gonna have to figure out if that's what we need ourselves, so that we know when to stay and plant in and thrive, or leap and grow. Both of those matter, and anything we can do to sort of get rid of this old-fashioned conditioning of this is what I was raised to do, and this is what works for me, is we just gotta let that go. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that I've been doing a lot more in our videos each week, is addressing what energy looks like and how it moves around. And once you learn that rock hopping, I always call it rock hopping because in another analogy, it's about crossing a river and which rock are you going to go to. But the lily pad, it means that when you need to jump, you need to jump. And so you support yourself, you support the ones you love around you, you support the ones you're raising. Do you have any questions, or you want more information or even coaching on this? You can get a hold of me at DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Have a great Father's Day. Have a great Sunday next week. And tomorrow is summer solstice. So enjoy the summer. Take care. Bye-bye.